They did not get over 500 to stay until I believe it was August the 13th in 2021. So stranger things have happened, and we're right around that little mark right here.
Emergency therapy session needed here with Grant McAuley. So, Grant, you're back. Usually we bring on a guest, and it takes a while till we talk to them again, just because we like to fly around the league. But I feel like we spoke somewhat recently, but we have an emergency here. You can check out Grant on 92.9 The Game. You can watch him on Locked On, Battery Power, host of From the Diamond, all over the place. Okay, but Grant, what is your, ultimate therapy session talk to Braves fans right now on why it's going to be okay? Can we start on the positive side of things after they absolutely got walloped by a good Milwaukee Brewers team?
I mean, that's a really great question. And the crazy part about this is, and I feel like we've maybe asked this question a few different times, is can it get any worse? Have we reached the bottom and now you kind of rebound and you bounce back to the top? You figure it out. I mean, this is a club that's done it so well over the course of the last 6 seasons. I mean, there have been some lows in there. There's also been the highest of highs. But right now, it just seems like this is, and I get a lot of commentary on social media. I do a lot of commentary on social media, as I'm sure you can tell as well. But it just seems like for a club that's maintained an over 500 record in large part because of what it did in April, it is crazy to hear the levels to which the frustration has mounted for Braves fans out there that have been waiting for this club to come anywhere close to the expectations that they've set, not just in 2021, but seemingly annually for a while here. So I think everybody's just in a really weird headspace. I don't know that I have the answers. I know the Braves are currently searching for the answers on the field and particularly at the plate. And it has been a season I don't think anybody could have predicted.
Hey, Grant, Cam Maben here. Let me get straight to it. This is a season that we haven't seen in a while. You think about these numbers: 239 as a team average is 11th in the NL, 479 runs, 14th out of 15, 49 stolen bases has a lot to do with Ronald Acuna Jr. And a guy that they relied on heavily, who led all of baseball in slugging last year. Where do they find some help, and what is going on with Matt Olson right now? What are you hearing? What's the mindset? What's he working on? Because they desperately need that guy right now. I know Austin Riley's kind of, starting to heat up a little bit. Ozuna's been great all year long. What is Matt Olson trying to do right now? Because he has been a big part of those numbers being where they are.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about that. And I've talked about that on my show and From the Diamond and just about anywhere else that I've been, that the linchpin of the Braves offense for what they want to do, what they need to do going forward, it's got to be Matt Olson. I mean, now that Austin Riley has kind of gotten through his first couple of months, that funk, and a couple of weeks that he was off the field, but since he's come back, and really since the middle of June, he's been the guy you expected. But for Matt Olson, I mean, there have been some streaks of baseball that, again, I just don't know that anybody could have expected, even for somebody that's had a couple of those before. He had a long homerless streak early in the year. Then it seemed like he figured it out in June. Then all of a sudden went into another long funk. And then it seems like maybe about 10 or so days ago, he started swinging the bat well again. I talked to Matt about a week ago, and he said this has been a grueling process because he's well aware of the numbers not being where they need to be. And, when Matt came over from Oakland and talked about like his hitting style, it's no secret. This is a slugger. This is a guy looking to lift the ball, looking to hit home runs, looking to drive the ball. He said, when I hit it on the ground, that's a loss for me. That's not what I'm trying to do. And it's been a lot more strikeouts, fewer walks this year. And I don't know where the power has gone, but I know he's been there. He's been trying to work on it, figure it out with Kevin Seitzer and others before games and extra work, all of those things. It's just not materializing. And I think that may be the most frustrating part is, you look for answers, you ask for the answers, and nobody seems to have them right now. And he's just said, look, I got to trust the process. I got to know that my talent is there, and eventually I'm going to get back there. But right now, it's no fun for anybody. And Matt Olson, I think, is more aware of it than anybody that's been watching as well.
Okay, so Grant, who's to blame for this? Is it Kevin Seitzer? I hate to say that, blame a certain coach or a certain person for this. Is it on the players? Because I know the players are working hard. But, it's not only Matt Olson. It's Sean Murphy hasn't performed like he has in the past. Austin Riley, I know he had his own hitting coach on the side who tragically passed away not long ago, and that was a big deal. But some of the other guys, in the outfield, I know they have the injuries, but some of the other guys haven't done what they've done in the past. So is it just a bad year, or is there something else going on behind the scenes that we're missing?
I mean, AJ, I'm prone to think it's more of a bad year than just some bigger thing happening behind the scenes. But as you know, I mean, it's a long season. You are going to have, the times where maybe it comes a little bit easier. That's something else Matt Olson said. Is just last year it just seemed to come so easy for us, and this year it seems like everything has been a struggle to get going. Losing Ron Acuna Jr., even though he wasn't playing at an MVP level either prior to injuring his knee, that's going to take a toll on this club. They've lost Ozzy Albies now. Michael Harris has been out for 2 months, but is on his way back. Sean Murphy missed 2 months. Riley, others. I mean, Ozzy Albies, this is his second stint on the IL for a fracture because remember, he fractured a toe earlier this year. It's been a strange year, a weird year. I don't know that they've made any wholesale changes to their approach, which led to a historic offense a year ago. They slugged 500 as a team. They scored 950 runs just about and tied the record for most homers. So I don't know that they needed to change much, but year to year, the variance and the regression or whatever else you want to chalk it up to, I don't know. It's taken a bigger bite out of the Braves than seemingly just about any other club in baseball. And again, to kind of sound like a broken record, they're trying to find the answers. They're just not very apparent.
Hey, we had John before the trade deadline. I think it was July 22nd. So what did you think of the moves that they made? Like, were you a fan of them bringing in Soler and taking on a good chunk of the money? And where did you think they missed? So, like, what did you like? What did you not like?
I think that the Soler move made sense for him. And this trade deadline, and I know we talked about this a lot before. I mean, what was the playoff picture going to look like? Who are the sellers going to be? What's going to be available? This was not, aces galore moving. This was not high impact players that were getting traded right, left, and center. It was a lot of, I think, ancillary pieces, a lot of back end starters. Relievers, of course, got traded around. But I didn't look at any other trades and feel like, hey, the Braves missed out on this guy, and this guy. I did wonder once Max Fried hit the IL and Reynaldo Lopez also was dealing with an arm issue, if maybe they'd re-examine their need for another starter. They decided to pass on that. Given some of the prospect packages for some of those starters, I can understand that. But that was a decision, a choice, and a move that now it seems like, you might want to do over again. I don't know. But I can also look and tell you, before this 5 days, the Braves had the best ERA in baseball. The Brewers series was pretty awful, and that obviously took a bite out of it. But pitching really hasn't been their problem. So I say all that to say they needed to address their offense. Getting Harris back will help. Soler seems to fit. He hadn't played a lot of outfield, though, and that's been apparent in the last week. But they needed somebody that could get on base and maybe generate some power at the top of the order, ignite things. It's worked before, and Soler's been able to succeed in that role, and he was doing it for the Giants as well. Taking on the money, I think, was just something that had to be the cost of doing business because Alex Anthopoulos knew he needed to do something for this offense, something for this outfield, and I feel like he pulled off the deal that made the most sense for the Braves, and I didn't see anybody else getting traded around that felt like a big miss for the Braves, if that makes sense from the outfield picture.
Yeah, I want to talk about this pitching staff because you're right. You talk about the first half, the pitching was just outstanding. And going back to the last 5 days, like you said, now we're coming up on a stretch where no starter has pitched into the fifth inning, which is somewhat of a problem that can be problematic when you talk about taxing a bullpen as well. So with the injuries, right, they are what they are. Where are they looking to get some help? We're looking to get some length from is it a couple younger guys from AAA? Like, who are they going to rely on to try to help keep them in this mix? Because right now, I know they've been great, but baseball is a what have you done for me lately sport. Who's the guy that's going to stop this bleeding, or who are one of the guys other than Chris Sale that they feel like they might have a chance to rely on?
Yeah, I mean, the rookie Spencer Schwellenbach has stepped in and done some big things for the Braves. That was, talk about an off-the-page storyline that you wouldn't have anticipated in spring training. He's been a great one. Now, if you're looking back down on the farm, clearly Bryce Elder's had some ups and downs this year, again, after a tough second half a year ago. A.J. Smith-Shawver and Ian Anderson are probably the next two guys that I think could factor into this rotation, especially if they want to continue doing the strategy of trying to get as many extra days of rest for Chris Sale currently and Reynaldo Lopez when he's active, because I do think that that's benefited both men. I don't know that that's going to be the way that they're going to try to do it year over year over year, but the strategy made a lot of sense given that Reynaldo Lopez hadn't thrown over 100 innings since 2019, and we all know that Chris Sale had been through 5 very challenging years. And it wasn't a bad idea to give him that little bit of extra rest and recovery time. But the numbers game, I mean, getting Fried back helps, but he wasn't sharp first time out. But I think that could obviously change. We know what Max Fried is. Charlie Morton has had a Jekyll and Hyde month of July, and really the last start against the Brewers in the finale. that was one of those where you really needed something big from the vet and you didn't get it. But it's not just one guy, and this pitching staff needs some help. And I do think Ian Anderson coming back from Tommy John could be one answer. And obviously, A.J. Smith-Shawver is their number one pitching prospect. He could factor into this down the stretch as well.
Hey, Grant, I've got a question from Tim in the chat, just asking about the state of the Braves farm system. So where do you think they're at in terms of resources? And I'm guessing maybe this question had something to do with the trade deadline, because I know the Braves don't necessarily have the big time names right now to pull off a deal for a huge name. Let's just put a scenario out there. I know it didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if they were really going after Garrett Crochet because he's dealing this year and he costs nothing, I mean, he's very coveted, I don't know if they would be able to keep up with teams like the Dodgers and the Orioles in a competitive bid. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, that's true. They don't have one of the top farm systems in baseball. They haven't really since a lot of these guys graduated and became stars, which, of course, is the sign of a successful farm system on the other side of that coin. But I do think they've done a better job of being able to draft some pitchers. They've got a lot of good young arms. Unfortunately, many of them seem to be further away from the big leagues, though I would have said the same thing about Spencer Schwellenbach at the start of the year. So who knows in some cases. But they've done a better job of drafting some arms. The international sanctions being lifted a couple of years ago, allowing them to sign some hitters. They've begun to develop a little bit there. So it seems like they've kind of risen to the middle of the pack. But no, it's not the crown jewels of Acuna and Albies and Dansby Swanson and Max Fried and Michael Soroka and all these other guys, Kyle Wright, that they had that made them that top farm system for a number of years. But they have done a better job of stocking it. I think where Alex Anthopoulos might run into some question is, yeah, they've had to slowly rebuild that farm system. They do have players, obviously, that they like, that they're developing. Did they want to waste them on a rental? I think no, they did not. Garrett Crochet is a different animal, but then, as we saw around the trade deadline, the White Sox, how are they going to manage his innings for the remainder of the year? How much more does he have to give this season? And, of course, the public-facing comments of wanting an extension and not wanting to move to the bullpen and a lot of other things. That was a strange situation. So maybe some of that was just out of the control of Alex Anthopoulos and a number of other GMs, but I don't think that helped the White Sox in their marketing of what was probably the most coveted pitcher on the market, if in fact he were available, which I would assume that he was.
Big shout out to America's #1 meal kit, HelloFresh, for helping us eat good during this busy time of the year for us. With HelloFresh, you get pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. It's home cooking made easy, fun, and affordable.
HelloFresh makes it easy, even for picky eaters like Scott. There's a changing menu of 50 recipes to choose from each week. Customize it to fit your taste. There's protein and veggie swap options too. The recipes are easy to follow. Just choose your delivery day, open your box, cook, and eat.
My house is busy with sports, but family dinners are important. My fam eats better, healthier, and we cook so much easier with HelloFresh.
And for a limited time, kids eat free. Go to HelloFresh.com/FTKids to unlock this exclusive offer. 1 free kids meal per box for 2 months while subscription is active. That's free kids meals just by going to HelloFresh.com/FTKids.
You're talking about their farm system. Well, they're going to have to maybe, possibly with Charlie Morton and Max Fried being free agents, find arms. Do you think there's a possibility that either one of them comes back? And if not, where would you think that Max Fried would end up?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think we've been asking the Max Fried question for a couple of years, the closer that he got to free agency. And it would seem like at this point, given the history of the last couple of years with Freddie Freeman, with Dansby Swanson, once you get to free agency, all bets are off, even if you are a player who fit extremely well in what the Braves were doing. They have signed a lot of extensions to players who were years away from free agency. Fried wasn't one of those guys. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk about him being a California guy. Would he want to go back out there? He was drafted by the Padres, grew up a Dodgers fan. Clearly, those are a couple of clubs that don't mind spending some money. Charlie Morton's a year-to-year thing, and I don't know that you can continue to plan on that year after year as well. So whether or not they can get some of these young pitchers to step into those places, whether or not maybe the offseason's a better time to explore a trade for a Garrett Crochet or somebody else, they're going to have to address it. Chris Sale helped, and Chris Sale has been terrific. But, yeah, the Braves rotation could lose two pretty significant contributors over the past few years, and none bigger than Max Fried. And I know there were people that said, hey, they should just go ahead and sell Fried right now if they're not going to re-sign him. Then my question would be, on a club that's supposed to be in a window of contention, how do you replace Max Fried while you're trying to get to the playoffs? That math didn't work for Alex Anthopoulos either, I wouldn't imagine.
Yeah, that would have been a tough sell to the fan base because there have been crazier scenarios. Let's remember, it is August 9th. Grant, what was the record? You probably have it memorized of the Atlanta Braves on whatever that magic day was when they in August in 2021. They were what? 2 games under? You probably know that stat better. What was the stat?
They did not get over 500 to stay until I believe it was August the 13th in 2021. So stranger things have happened, and we're right around that little mark right here. But as much as people, and myself included, can look at that and use it for part of the context, we all know years like 2021, those are not the rule. Those are the exception. Those are the outlier. That's what makes them special. But it's baseball. You get hot at the right time. Who in the world knows what could happen in October? Because as I've said this before as well, who walked into spring training in 2023 and said, can't wait for the Rangers and the Diamondbacks to meet in the World Series in October?
Nobody. Zero people put that together with all seriousness. So the Braves have 4 days to get it together. That's basically the point here. Okay?
Sounds like it.
We're on the 9th. Yeah. Grant, this was awesome. Thanks for jumping back in. Yeah, 4 days. There's plenty of time to fix everything. Give Grant a follow at Grant McAuley. We'll post some of these. Grant, appreciate you. We'll talk soon, okay?
Appreciate you. Great to see you guys as always.
Be sure to like and subscribe for more content.
We're back here every weekday, all year long, so do not miss an episode.
The videos are coming in all day. Here's another video you might enjoy.
Baseball the way it should be covered.